Another way. Short shot.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Building Better DJs. Beat Junkies in the house. I am Babu.
I am Mr. Choc. What's up?
And I'm Rhettmatic.
What's up, y'all? Hope you guys have been enjoying the podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. For everything Beat Junkies, the record pool, beatjunkies.com. For our online school, beatjunkies.tv. Of course, for everything about the Beat Junkie Institute of Sound, go to beatjunkiesound.com.
Yes.
And fellas, we're back. Another episode. This time, we are talking about prepping for gigs.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
What do we do to get ready for our gigs? Maybe like on many different levels. You know, there's a lot that goes into before we go out and play. And the different type of gigs and how we get ready for those different types of gigs, you know? So, you know, literally you two guys have gigs tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of having experience, we actually have both of you guys and Melody, all three of us, all three of you guys all have gigs tonight, literally.
Yes.
So fresh off of getting ready for a gig. So what do you guys find yourselves doing before a gig? Let's go.
For me, I always try, if it's a theme night, I try to find out like who's played there before. I'll actually call one of you guys up and say, did you guys ever played this club before? What's the vibe like? And then from there, once I get all my information from talking to you guys or just any other various DJs that I'll talk to, I'll start the prep. So for me, prep is everything. I really take a lot of time with prep as far as downloading songs, even sometimes digitizing records to in case I don't have it in my collection already, or going to some of my hard drives, digging for music.
Let's rewind real quick though, Choc, because I think that's really important. Your first point, first of all, I think that's a conversation right there. Just doing your research on where you're playing.
Yes, for sure.
I think that's just a lot of common sense. Just knowing your venue, knowing your crowd, knowing the theme of the night, if there is a theme for the night.
Even if you've never even played there before, I mean, that's the most important thing too. Like, it's just really like acknowledging yourself, educating yourself on what you're walking into.
For sure. I almost think like the best thing is almost to go out and see that night.
Oh yeah, if you
go
can.
Experience that night if you can, as like someone on the dance floor, as someone who goes out to a club and enjoys himself and see what that club's about, and just understanding. I think that's actually half the battle.
Yes.
You know, going and seeing the vibe and understanding like what you're walking into.
But the next best thing is if you can't go to that club and vibe out, then that's when you call your homies.
For sure.
Call our brothers.
In general, do a little research in terms of where you're playing and what the spot is. That's super important, I think.
Very important.
I agree. I totally agree.
You never know. You might walk into a spot and just be like, I mean, nowadays, we have our laptops and we have all this storage, but at the same time, like, you know, better prepared. Like we said, this is all about prepping, so better to know what you're walking into. Do a little research.
Even if like you're
call
doing
homies, like Choc was saying. You know?
Even if you're doing like a club out of town, like I'll usually call somebody who's ever in whatever city I'm going to. I'll call them. Like if I'm going to the Bay, I'll call Shortcut. Be like, what's the vibe of this club over here? What am I walking into? What should I prepare for? What type of music should I be playing? What type of music should I not be playing? You know, those are all important things when you're prepping.
I mean, in this day too, also you can look at the social media. Like, you know, if it's out of town, you can always look at what they're playing in the videos and stuff like that. But I agree with you 100%, Choc. You got to be prepared for anything. You know, that's a mark of a professional DJ.
Yes, for sure.
So from first of all, understanding where you're playing, doing your research, talking to your fellow DJs who might have played at that same venue or that night and know what's up. Then we begin to dig in a little bit more, and we're actually starting the process of prepping or preparing for the gig, right?
Yes.
So, Choc, you were saying like, you know, we spend a lot of time now like in our proverbial crates, whether it's our record crates or our crates in our Serato or whatever. But that's a big part of prepping, right? Getting our music ready.
Yes.
Getting new music ready, getting familiar with music, setting cue points and loops and putting together playlists and all that. So how much time are you guys spending on just that part of prepping?
It depends on the gig. Like usually, like for me, if I'm playing an 90-minute gig or 2-hour gig, I'll spend a couple of days, maybe 2 or 3 days, just going through my music, organizing my music, and then after organizing my music, then I'll actually get on the turns, and then I'll try a couple of transitions out or a couple of like tricks that I might have, in my bag or whatever that I'm going to be doing.
Right.
But yeah, it's really about the music, getting the music all together first, organizing it, BPMing your songs, analyzing your songs, whatever you need to do, and just putting it in order on how I'm going to do it. Or if I'm going to freestyle, just having the crate there.
Have a backup crate.
Yes,
per se,
for sure.
Yeah, it's like your go to. Like, okay, if this doesn't work, you have a folder or records that's just like, this is always going to work no matter what.
I'm more about getting familiar with tunes, knowing them, mapping them, understanding the song structure, setting cue points,
loops if you need them.
Yeah, loops if you need them, and I look more for like ins and outs and things that are going to be fun, like that I'm going to have fun playing and might work with the other tunes in this playlist I'm building. But I think that part of it before you even touch the turns is really important.
Yeah,
I agree. I totally agree.
Knowing your music.
Yes.
There's nothing worse than going and playing something at a gig and you've never played it before. And there's situations where you have to do that. You know what I mean? Someone requests something. It's, you know what I mean? I can only imagine all kinds of situations where you just got to play something on the fly for whatever reason. And sometimes you just got to be prepared to do it. But, I'm really leery about not having that time to prep and know a song before I get out somewhere in public and play.
That's my thing also too, Babs, is that for me, like if I have a song in my, well, first of all, when I make a folder, every song in that folder has been analyzed. I have the BPM, I have cue points, loops if I need them, but nothing in that folder is unmarked.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I very rarely play a song that's unmarked and I don't know. So when I make a crate, I'll make one main crate that I'm going to be digging out of, but then I'll surround that crate with another crate just in case plan A doesn't work out.
Right.
I'll have a plan B, and I'll have a plan C just in case.
For sure.
And you should.
Yeah.
You should, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's really important too. I think getting new tunes, however you get new tunes into your laptop or into your library, I think it's always a great habit to, make sure you go through that protocol of always putting new songs in, filing them properly, organizing. I think that happens all the time, and it's something DJs should be doing constantly, even without the pressure of a gig. We should always be familiarizing ourselves with new music and staying up on it. Whether or not a gig, that I think that's just something as DJs that we're supposed to do all the time, right?
Yes, for sure.
Totally.
But of course, gigs come up and it puts a little spark under us, and we got to get tight for this gig because, like we said, it might have different parameters, or it might be a different genre, or who knows? You know what I'm saying?
I think it also depends on too, when you're prepping for a gig, like who else you're playing with.
Yeah.
Like if there's a headliner, if you're the headliner, or if there's somebody that's headlining, before, if you're opening for the headliner, it's a way that you need to prepare your set. Like you can't go on if you're opening for a headliner and burn through all the most popular songs.
You can't play all the.
You just can't do that.
That's just there's an unwritten rule for that. But even then,
we should write it.
We
will.
It should. But but even then, when someone does that, you have to. Hopefully, you have enough knowledge, enough prep that like if someone does that, you have to like dig deep and switch to
punch them. I'm sorry.
Punch them in the neck. I like to say recover though. Recovery is everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I think this is a major rule. I think like opening DJs, I think it's just like something that's understood, that should be understood.
It should be.
It's like it's almost
sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You're there to set up the headliner.
Basically, it's like say if you're opening up for DJ Premier, you don't play anything that primo. If anyone ever seen Premier DJ, he pretty much plays his own stuff, right? His own material.
Yeah.
But if you I get it. Cats are excited to, open up for the headliners. They want to set it off. But if you play, it's a big no-no to play you don't play a Gangstar song or
don't do that Gangstar mega mix you've been practicing.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not the.
I'm DJ with Primo, and I'm gonna hit this mega mix.
I'm really gonna impress him, man. I'm gonna play all of his butters that he hasn't heard in a while. No, he's playing them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You know, even if you're not playing for someone like a feature like Premier, like,
Yeah.
you know, understand if you're going even on the level of playing a club, like, don't go and play all the hot shit.
No, don't.
Don't play all the shit that, like, you know what I'm saying? That is the fire. You know?
That you know the headliner's supposed to play. And the people are supposed to. People are there sometimes, and they're waiting for like that 12 o'clock to hit, and that's when you're supposed to hear like all the hot joints, no matter what type of club, no matter what the theme is of the club.
Yes.
So if you go on and you're playing all the hot joints before midnight hits, you're doing it all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why you need to prepare before you actually get to the club, thinking that you're gonna like show out.
But I think sometimes, you know, people sleep on being the opening DJ because actually that's, you know, you don't play all the hits.
Oh, that's the fun time.
Yeah, you actually set the vibe.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
fun part, really. It's like
You get to play and educate people on things that they might not have heard, and might be stuff that they might want that they need to hear.
There's a little more room to like
Right.
play off the wall shit, or you know, go to the left, go to the right a little bit. I love that, Rhett. That's really dope. Yeah, you're right. I remember. I don't know. It was probably like a couple years ago. I opened up for J Rock and Spinna Flavors.
Oh yeah, I
one
remember
night.
that. Yeah.
And it was like the funnest set I had, just because like, you know, I knew I'm like, okay, I have to stay away from this. I have to stay away from that. I'd be stupid to play this. So you know what I'm saying? Like I just played a bunch of gully shit for the first hour and had a
It used to be the
fucking
Mr.
blast.
Used to be the Mr. Gully shit. Dude.
Yeah, it was great. You know what I'm saying? Like I was playing like, you know, B-sides and just all kinds of stuff that you know, people forgot about, and it was cool. Like I definitely appreciate being the opener. That's the fun
But
shit.
you also knew going in there that Jay and Spinner were going to be playing all the heat. And you knew most of the stuff that you were going to play, they probably weren't even going to touch. So that's why you had so much fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they were probably looking at me like, oh man, I wish I opened.
Wish I could play Big L right now.
Yeah, seriously. No, but that's a really great thing. I think that's going back to understanding where you're playing.
Right.
Right.
What context am I playing in? You know, what are they hiring me to actually do here? Right? So, you know, I think that's being in touch, and I think that's being like, you know, part of, you know, earning a great reputation as a DJ is understanding that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it's not just always about the skill. It's not just always how clean your blends are. It's also about like having a little bit of just common sense and understanding like the position that you're filling that night.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
So that's a really big part of prep, I think, too. You know, and we're talking about the modern day. We're talking about Serato. We're talking about, you know, in general, what the most common kind of DJ gigs are. And, you know, on the most basic level, guys, we're talking about the file organization, knowing your music. You know, and then like, you know, Choc, you said the next step for you would be after might have spent a couple days just getting a few playlists
Just getting
together.
the music together. Not even doing any tricks, nothing.
Right.
Just prepping the songs.
Literally just on your laptop, just getting stuff tight and organized and ready to go. We're finally now going to actually put in some practice time. So tell me, fellas, how much time are we spending now actually standing up at our decks with these new playlists? Like,
Hey, it could be from an hour to 2 hours. It all depends, really.
However long it takes.
Yeah.
And I think there should be no time cap on prep at all. Like if you're sitting in front of your computer and you're working on music, you shouldn't be looking at the time. How much time have I spent on this? No. Or the same thing when you're actually practicing your techniques on the turntables. It shouldn't be like, how much time have I done this? No. Just work until you feel you've accomplished and you completed it.
Yeah, but sometimes, like for me, sometimes it's like, you know, when you don't, you have maybe a busy schedule and you only got a certain amount of time to practice. Because I remember something like
that too.
You know, like I had to take my mom somewhere, and then I like had to come back, and it's like,
Red.
you know, yeah, exactly.
and you only got this window of time.
Yeah, so I'm trying to put everything. I'm getting everything together, and then I'm just practicing as much as I can. And the next you know, I'm like, oh damn, I got to go right now. You know, like right down to the minute of just going to the gig and stuff like that. You know, hear me out, guys. What do you think about also going to the actual event early to see what the other DJs are playing?
Oh yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'd suggest getting there at least an hour to 30 minutes early, at least to know what's happening at 30 minutes before you get on.
Right.
Yeah.
Before you do something stupid like play something that they already played.
Right. You want to be prepared for
You
that.
want to soak it up. You
Yeah.
want to like you want to feel comfy. You don't want to like walk in the door and just have to plug your junk in and play. That's never optimum. You know.
Totally.
You want to be able to catch the vibe.
Yeah.
But you know, going back to actually the practice time too. You know, for me guys is like, I love to leave a little room in my sets for, the proverbial shit to happen.
Freestyle.
Like bounce off the room, see what happens. See what the DJ left me with before, and just have a folder of options.
Right.
Yeah.
Stuff I'm familiar with, stuff I feel comfortable playing. A whole different range of different BPMs. Really don't try to overthink it. But I know I have many places to start and end and transition and go, and I like to. I think too, like anytime I overthink it and think I'm going to do this, you never really ever do that.
It usually happens.
As much as you prep, the universe is funny like that it's never what you expect. And anything you think you plan you're going to do, sometimes you do the furthest from that most of the time.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
So I think like the prep is just building the confidence and knowing your folder, knowing you're tight and you've been staying sharp, and even on another level, guys, prep is also like actually packing your shit.
Yeah.
Taking care of your shit. These days, I roll. I'm embarrassed, but I roll with 2 laptops and 2 hard drives, a set of needles, headphones, multiple pairs of Serato vinyl, and a couple pieces of real vinyl just in case.
That's real. Right.
Got to.
My power plugs, USB cords.
Yeah.
And that's all part of prep, though. You know what I'm saying? Having make sure your backpack is filled with all these different wires and USB wires and headphones and records and hard drives and even 2 computers if you need. You know what I'm saying? Like it's important to have all your stuff with you just in case, because you could show up to the gig and maybe they might not have a USB wire.
Yes.
Guess what? I got one in my bag. Boom.
Well, you'd be surprised like how some DJs don't even bring needles or slip
slip
mats.
mats.
They expect it to be there, and then it's like, what am I gonna do? And then and it sucks sometimes. If you're a nice guy, you let them use your stuff, and you have to wait there the rest of the night.
Nah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I'm a nice guy, but I'm not doing
yeah, but
I gotta go.
Yeah.
You should have brought your own.
Yeah,
needles.
exactly.
Yep.
But you know what though? Assume they have nothing for you. Assume the worst.
Right.
And I think I'm a little extreme. Having 2 laptops and 2, But seriously, guys, when you're in the moment and these things aren't there, there's really nothing that you can do, and everyone's looking at you. So I say that is a big part of prep. Be prepared, to be handy with it. Part of us as DJs is being able to deal with the technical side of the setup and what they give you and what you deal with. So taking it even deeper, when you book your gigs, you better make sure the promoter has what you need and you understand what you need to bring to this gig.
Right.
Otherwise, expect the worst and prepare for the worst.
Right.
Yeah.
Make sure you have 2 of everything if that's what it takes. But that's part of prep is making sure you've got your toolkit, making sure you're ready for worst case scenarios, right?
I mean, J-Rock. Jay, he brings sometimes the Denon Serato box, because sometimes they might not have the right. They might not have the right mixer. Or they might not have even the right Serato box. They might even have not Serato
connectivity issues.
Yeah. So he on the fly he'll hook that up and stuff. And they might even they might have
a good
like
idea.
Yeah. So sometimes
I think another thing that's important to have with you, along with your bag of essentials that are in, with your wires and headphones and stuff, are flash drives.
Yeah.
Just in case, for whatever reason, we're on computers, we're in the digital era. So you might hook up, something might not come on. You might not charge your computer. It might not work for whatever reason. So it's good to probably sometimes have your crate that you prepped backed up on a flash drive.
Yeah.
Therefore, like if you can't get your stuff to work, you can hook up to somebody else's laptop and then be able to play your set.
Yeah.
That's a part of prep also too. Just making sure you have backup.
Yeah, thumb drive. That's a good idea too. You know what I've seen other cats starting to do now is using those, like the photo memory cards for the same exact deal. You can get they make them up to like 64
little SanDisk.
They make them actually for cameras, but. I've seen people just store music on there and it just lives in their laptop, and they'll have a copy of that, a spare one of them somewhere, and they're super tiny. So
I think I'm going to add to my stuff. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah,
that is kind of a slick way to have some extra backup and peace of mind just in case the worst case scenario happens, right?
Yeah.
But prepping, guys, practicing. We're talking about in the Serato world. That's probably the most common way. And I feel like we're talking about like club gigs.
Club gigs.
We have different type of gigs that we all do a little bit. All 3 of us, we all do DJ for rap groups. So I know the prep is, similar but a little bit different, I think, when we talk about DJing in that context.
Yes.
Right? So what would you guys do, like, Choc, if you were doing some gigs of Immortal, or Brett, you were out with the Visionaries?
Yeah, for me, it's just like I have all of Immortal songs in my computer already. So it just depends on what order he wants to do those songs. So I'll make sure to sit with him and be like, okay, what are we doing tonight? How do you want to do this? Where's my solo? Which song do you want to start with? And, usually we go for like an hour on stage. So I try to map out the whole show with him before I even get on stage. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just make sure that you have all of his songs and whatever he wants to rap over, and be ready for for him to switch up things also too, because like artists like to do that sometimes. They'll have a plan on how they're going to do things, and they'll be like, no, let's skip that song tonight. Let's go to this song. So
Right.
you got to be ready for all that.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's a little bit different, and Babs, I think you can agree with me, because we're in groups. We're you had dealing with one MC. We're dealing at least with three to
I'm dealing with
five.
3 MCs: Poison Pen and Chino XL. Yeah,
Right. But I'm saying in a group, setting, stuff like that. So I mean, for me, the guys, I had to say, okay, what songs you guys remember and stuff, and then I actually put the songs together. I seen you did this too with Dilated, have all the obviously the big hits or whatnot, but I would say, okay, I make my list, send it to them. Do you guys know your verses from here? And say, I don't know this one. Do your homework, and after that, we set a time where we actually do rehearsal.
Crack that whip, Rhett. That's right.
Because I know you did that with Dilate too. It's like you guys have to, you write down the list and stuff. We rehearse it, practice over the transitions, and then also have some backup stuff like you said, like because sometimes someone might forget something, or the show is cut short, so you have to like take songs out and put it in there, or you might have a surprise guest that comes up, and hopefully you prepare for that. But yeah, rehearsal, and then even then too, like for sound, like making sure to be there for sound check.
That's so important. Sometimes I think that artists don't really like take how important sound check is to get there and make sure that everything is on point. Just like prep, you know what I'm saying? So
right. So
yeah, I know too. Those are really great points, Brett. Too, I think for something that I don't know if you guys do this, but you hit a very important thing, like talking about MCs and having like large catalogs of music to remember. That's a real thing. Like, shoot, a month or two goes by, let alone a few months go by. How does that verse start again? Like, it's like it's a tough job for MC. So it's like I not only have my show versions of the songs, but I also have all the vocals.
Yes.
Handy as well. Because when we're rehearsing or when we're even like getting ready for a show, you'll be surprised. Cats are getting nervous before a show, and all of a sudden they just can't remember. All of us blank out. What's the first line of that? Oh shoot! Bring up my iTunes really quick, and I can play the vocal version, refresh everyone's memory. Like, okay, then it's all like riding a bike again. But, yeah, it would be great in a perfect world to always be able to rehearse. I even, especially if I know we can't physically get up and rehearse, sound check is a must.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Something I still do at home, even if I know we don't have a chance to rehearse, is I'll literally go through my whole set. In my set, I have to scratch a lot of the choruses, and we do a lot of transitions as far as like maybe we might change a beat on a second verse, or we abruptly go from one song to another, or there's transition pieces. So,
right.
I'll actually go through the set by myself, at the crib, even if the guys aren't around. Kind of just walk through it, practice my choruses, definitely practice my solo. I have a solo in the Dilated set, so I've got a nice 5 to 7 minute solo that I've got to get tight and make sure it's going to be good. So I spend a lot of time getting that ready, and then packing and prepping for that too. I bring like a bunch of, I have a sampler for sound effects that happen, and then for those guys, I have to make sure that they're getting the right mics and monitors and all the, the tech writer and all that kind of stuff too. So it's a little bit of a different beast when you go out and DJ for rappers, as opposed to going to the club.
It's almost like the DJ for rap groups and rappers is like we're just as important as the drummer in a band.
Totally.
We're like the band.
Yes.
Like we have to be at soundcheck whether or not the MCs are there. And
So
that's
true.
something club DJs don't even really deal with, for better or for worse, is soundcheck.
Yes.
That's one thing as a DJ for a rap group. It's we all were like, oh, soundcheck is a must. Best, I don't know the last time a club DJ went and soundchecked for the spot they're playing at night. No, they just show up at 1 a.m. and do their thing. You know what I mean? That's just how club DJing is compared to DJing for rap groups or for performers. Goes. So that's a bit of a different beast.
But the commonality is it prep.
Yeah, spend a lot of
Prep.
time prepping as much as you can, and then, like, same thing. you better know your show music. You better know where your MCs want to start and end, and what song is, you know what I mean? How, you know, how does this song go into this, and where's my cue to do this? Where's my cue to do that?
Yeah.
You know, same kind of energy, same kind of prep, like you're saying, Rhett. But, you know, right now we're talking all digital. Rhett, earlier you touched on you just recently had to play a vinyl gig, something you probably do more than all of us these days. You play a lot of vinyl gigs, especially 45s. Let's talk about, you know, definitely prepping for, you know, playing vinyl.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it's like it's almost the same thing going through your crates. Now this time you're pulling out records and you're listening to it, and then if you have to put a sticker on the record, especially if it's new. And if it's like, man, I don't have this, you might have to go out and go digging, go record shopping, you know, or go to your record dealer and say, hey, do you have this record? You know, like, so it goes back to even the old school style, you know, from us when we were DJing, you know, we go through our crate of records, you know. But
it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's different.
It's different. It's physical, because the difference when you go into a club is because you're only limited to a certain amount. Whereas with Serato and your laptop, you have everything at your disposal.
Yeah,
you have almost your whole record collection. But if you only have this certain amount of records, and if the DJ plays a certain, like he plays a record that you plan to play, and you're like, well, what am I gonna do? And then you have to figure out, okay, well, maybe I need to take this one out. Maybe I need to let this record play longer. You know, like you might went through all your records already and you only have this much left. What do you got to do? So,
you know, I think there's, you know, more obvious things about playing records versus Serato that a lot of cats, you know, who don't have any experience playing vinyl, it's really easy for you to take for granted and not really understand what DJs had to do before the convenience of all this digital stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound, you know, like an old dude and bitter and all this, but on real knowledge, guys, I mean, like, younger cats got to understand, you know, like, mapping a song wasn't as easy as turning on your map and setting a couple cue points and looking at a wave and seeing where it dips lower and just kind of clicking through and skimming through a song. With records, you really got to know your tune.
Totally.
You really got to know the tune. You got to know the other side of the tune.
Yes.
You got to see if there's an instrumental. You got to know the bars, because you might only have 4 bars at the top of the song of a usable part to blend.
And you can't loop it.
There's no cue points.
No.
There's no loops.
No.
You got to pick up that needle. You got to spin that record back.
And if it skips, you got to keep on going.
And you better have 2 copies.
Yeah, there's a different appreciation level for this, guys. I mean, like, you know, where all these cats spend a lot of time looking like they're, you know, reading their email. I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, like, I just want younger cats to appreciate, you know, just the energy that someone playing vinyl has to turn around, literally dig through their bag, grab these 2 copies of a record and get busy with them, put them back, get the other 2, you know what I mean? All of that, you know, we have it so good nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But you know, playing vinyl is just a whole different beast that I don't think, you know, a lot of cats even really appreciate. You know, even just to get 2 copies of a record, man, is just like,
No, totally.
thank God for Discogs and dealers and record fairs and really cool record shops. You know what I mean? But still, it's not like just downloading a file off of the internet real quick. You know what I mean?
We're very lucky now these days.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you find yourself? I know for me, this speaks true. But do you find yourself, Rhett, and for you also, Babs, when you guys do vinyl gigs now, you feel like you got to practice a little bit more?
Oh yeah.
On them, just because like we've been on Serato, we've been kind of spoiled for so long. So when we got to actually go and do a vinyl gig now, we got to go and spend a little bit more time on the vinyl. Now, you know, we haven't lost our touch or anything, or, you know, how we touch records, but still, it's very important to still practice.
Yes, I had this, like I said, on the 45s. Like once I got those records, I had to get used to, like, just the difference between like the 12 inches and the 45. They're obviously smaller and they're faster, and they're very sensitive. If you know, just by touching it, the needle can jump. Versus a 12 inch, at least you have enough room.
Can't be having a rock hand touch.
No,
at all.
You can't. And then of course, it's a short compared to a 12 inch in albums. Like you have like maybe like one song's like 6-7 minutes. 45 is like a good 2 to 3 minutes at it, and that's it. And you got to be really on top of that.
You got to be on it.
Yeah.
On it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's you know what I mean? I think that's like a super Part of it, to me though, when I think about playing vinyl, it's easier a little bit in a way. I think it strips things down. Like, I think the more time I spend when I have to play a vinyl gig, guys, is actually getting my records together.
Yes.
On one hand, guys, after you spend a lot of time getting records together, just because I'm just not in my records like I was like that, actually, it's like I might spend some time recording a record and then putting it in Serato, and then it just gets put away
I
in
do
my
more
collection.
of that now, the actual records, yeah.
You know, but when you have to go out and play a vinyl gig, I have to spend a lot of time getting my records together because just going and getting all my records together and organizing like a crate or how much I have to feel to be ready for this gig. I spend a lot of time doing that. But I feel like once you get past that and you're on, I love playing 12 inches. I love having to deal with vinyl. I think it's easier. I kind of like the thought of like, hey, no more loops, no more cue points.
Right.
You just get back to like having to know the records and play the records, and that's why I love also playing 12 inches too. You get that instrumental bonus versions, acapellas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really dope thing. And like that feel of having to flip records over and put the needle down and spin through. Use your headphones. Like, there's something about going through all that to actually play.
Let me ask you guys this: if because I know I still do it. Like, do you ever even talking about prepping is like when you're about to put your set out? Do you sometimes take out your records, put them in order, and know exactly what turntable you're gonna put it at? You have your stack of records. This is you're gonna put on this turntable, this particular song. This mix, you're gonna mix it in this one. Go in there. Sometimes.
For me, no, because I still enjoy. Like, I'll just stack. I'll make a crate of records, put the records in there, and then I enjoy kind of like digging through and kind of freestyling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like whatever I find, like, oh yeah, that'll go good with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to put them in order. Like
do you? Because I know sometimes I do that. Mello does that sometimes.
Mello does it.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, that in terms of prepping, sometimes you have it goes back to what you're saying. You have something prep, and then all of a sudden you have to flip it. But if you do have something, something particular, it's even going back to prepping, like even for a routine. Do you do that?
Well, that's a whole different thing. Like, if I were to enter a DMC battle or something,
right,
I would have all my records laid out right next to me because everything's happening so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the context, I'm gonna go out and play. Whether I'm on Serato or vinyl, I still have that same style of just like I know what I have to work with.
Right.
And I'm gonna like kind of let the moment dictate what I'm gonna do with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gotcha.
leave room to like feel the energy of the room in that night.
Mm-hmm.
But feel confident that like I know my records,
Right.
or I know my Serato.
Mm-hmm.
I know I pick some good stuff that I know how to rock and get in and out of. So, but that's my style. Like you said, like, yeah, Mello is like a machine. I watched him come with like a stack of records like this out of their cases.
Right.
Yeah, out of the sleeves, just
Put
stacked
them all
up.
right and just go with it, boom, 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 and just tear through this whole stack of records. It's amazing, amazing. But he's the same way in Serato. He'll like meticulously put a playlist together and tear through that whole
Right.
playlist, whether it's vinyl or not.
Right.
So, and that's the thing, guys. How we DJ, whether it's vinyl or digital or whatever it is. Those are just the tools. Still, whatever it is you're doing, the important point we're making here is that you should prep.
Yes. Totally.
And you should practice.
Yes.
And you
Yes,
should
you
do your
should.
research.
Yes.
All the
You should
P's,
be-
man.
You should be tracking the movement. There's so many things as a DJ we have to do, and it's a constant work. Whether you have a gig coming up or not, the best thing is to always be prepared. Always act as if there's a gig coming up.
Yes.
If you're on
One
Serato.
thing I like to do when I'm in Serato, sometimes I'm at a gig, and let's say like if my plan is not going according to the way I want it to go, and I need to now start freestyling. One thing I'll do sometimes when I'm digging through songs, you'll see a song that like, man, I want to play that, but now's not the right time. What I'll do is I'll drag the song to the prepare window.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm going through my crates and then I finally get up to the tempo or I feel the time is right, I can go right to the prepare window and then I'll grab that song. And I think that's a part of prep also too. Just like knowing how to use your software and knowing like, okay, now I'm freestyling, but yeah, when I want to prepare and when I want to play another song, I need to actually go to my prepare window and see what I put in there.
That's
and I can pull the song out.
that's a slept on.
Oh yeah. Prepare window is everything for me sometimes, especially when you're freestyling, for sure.
Well,
Prep.
I think you're right, Choc. That's part of prep is knowing your tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this day and age, it's really important to, you know, making sure your software is updated.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and that's part of prep too. You got to know what, like, man, what equipment do you have for me, Mr. Promoter?
You gotta make sure.
Did they update the firmware on that mixer?
You have the drivers and stuff. You know.
Right. Is it? You know what I mean? Is the firmware on that mixer you have updated? Is my firmware, you know, on my Serato matching up to that mixer I'm going to play tonight?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so these are things that you have to be prepared for, and you have to understand, and you know, are all these little subtle things. So the prep never stops on so many levels,
Never.
guys.
Ever.
Never.
Ever.
Ever. Once again, guys, building better DJs.
Yes. Yes.
Another episode in the can. Thanks again for joining us.
Uh-huh.
We'll be back for more. Remember to subscribe. Check us out. BeatJunkies.com for the record pool. BeatJunkies.tv for our online school.
Yep.
BeatJunkiesSound.com to find out everything about our school here in Glendale, California.
Yes.
Thanks for checking us out, y'all. We'll be back soon. Babu,
Mr. Choc.
Rhettmatic.
building better DJs.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.